You guys, welcome back to my homestead. I'm Esther, and I thought today would be a great day to talk about pantry planning. Now, I'm not talking about like just going to the grocery store or planning a week's worth of meals or anything. I'm talking about planning out your pantry for the entire year. And I wanted to show you, I've got about 5 different steps on how I go about doing that. So I thought I would go ahead and start in the pantry. So let's see what's in here. It's a little messy right now. That's okay. So right here, this is just my sort of, if I get stuck, meal ideas. If you'd like me to do a how do I make my grocery list or my weekly meals, we can totally do a video on that. Let me know in the comments. And then on this side, this is sort of our homemade animal food. So I have like bunny food and dog food and cat food, just sort of ideas and amounts and things like that. And if you're interested also in that kind of a video, I'd love for you to let me know. But for now, let's talk about this. Okay, so I just sort of flipped you guys around here, and I'll just kind of show you real quick what I have in here. That's sort of like baking stuff on the bottom and potatoes and onions and things, and then just more random things. And I have mostly like our grains, flours, and sugar down there, and sort of very random assortment, cookbooks, recipes, and then we have like coffee and some snacks. And then over here we have more baked goods. We keep all of our stuff in glass jars and things because we get mice because we live in a log cabin. So we try to make them not encouraged to come into our pantry. The top shelf, we have sort of like oils and our lard, and then all kinds of like pastas and chocolate chips and seeds and peanut butters and honeys and sort of things like that. And then up above that, we have our like canned foods. We don't really eat a lot of canned things, but we do use canned beans and canned tomato products because we can't really grow very many tomato products. So that's kind of our pantry in here. So step 1 is take inventory. This is under our stairs where I keep all of our, well, maybe not all of it, but most of our canned goods and other things. So I just look at the jars and see how, what do I have left? What do I need to can? And then also I will take inventory of my herb cupboard. Okay, so now that we've had a look in my pantry and you know step 1, let's talk about step 2. Step 2 is that I like to go through and write down all of the things that I know will be coming into season in my area. So for example, very soon we will have things like cottonwood buds, asparagus and rhubarb, and strawberries and things like that. And so we have worked really hard in our family for a really long time, probably 10 years now, on learning to eat with the seasons. Now, I understand that's really difficult. A really easy example would be we do not buy berries out of season. They're very expensive, they don't taste very good, and they're not usually grown with the most amazing practices, and they're almost always shipped in because it's just so cold here. Now, we do our best in season to preserve in every way possible and eat as much fresh as possible, whatever fruits or vegetables are in the season when it is in season, and then we just have to kind of bear with it for the rest of the year. So it just really, what that does is it helps you to eat a little bit better, and then also it really makes you appreciate those fruits and veggies when they are in their season, in their prime, and you learn what the best flavor can possibly be. And honestly, everything else is just sort of subpar. Even home frozen or home canned or whatever, dried, it's just not quite as good. It's still great, but it's not as good as fresh from your own farm and things like that. So anyway, that's our second step, is write down all of those things. The next thing I like to do is I like to take my grocery list. So I make a weekly, let's see, I'm looking for it. I make a weekly grocery list. Now I used to do a 2-week grocery list. That way I would only have to do fruits and veggies shopping every week, and the rest of it would just be 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. But partly with kids, that's really hard. And then also when you are living on a farm, especially in a really short growing season, it can vary what things are available and when they're available and how much you're going to have. So like if we have a bumper crop of strawberries, we're going to be eating strawberries probably for a week straight. And I want all of my meals to revolve around strawberries. You know, for example, I don't know why I'm using strawberries all the time, but anyway, it sounds good. I'm really missing them this time of year. So I will just make my weekly grocery list. So that's the grocery side. This is my meal side, and I save all of them. So this is about a year's worth or so, maybe 3/4 of a year's worth. And then I will go back through and make a list of all of the I will make a list of all of the meals that I have made throughout the year, and try to write them down in the right months so that I know meal options that will be able to include my future pantry items. Okay. Now, I really don't like wasted food. I really don't like wasted anything, actually. So we try to make our meals based off of what we are using. Now, to me, feeding extras to our farm animals does not count as wasted because it's going back into making my eggs or bacon or milk or compost, things like that. So that, to me, it doesn't count as wasted. I mean throwing things in the garbage and it's leaving your farm. That's wasted to me, or your home. Step 4 is make your garden plan. So the reason that making your garden plan, now this, if you don't have a garden, that's totally fine. You can also plan what you're going to purchase from like a fruit stand or a co-op or some kind of like local farmers or something like that. And that will help you be able to know what's going to be coming into your pantry for the next year. And step 5 kind of goes hand in hand with planning your garden, but also make your list of what you want to preserve, or make your list of the things that you'd like to cut out for the year. So we pick 1 or 2 things that we really want to stay firm on. So this year for me, the thing I want to cut out is store-bought seasoning packets. We rely fairly heavily on a couple, like taco and fajita and au jus mix. We eat tacos literally every Tuesday. My children really like Lego movies right now, so they're totally into Taco Tuesday. So anyway, so we're using that seasoning mix now every single week, and I don't want to be using that. They have all kinds of additives in them, anti-caking agents, and they're very expensive. So you can buy bulk herbs for a lot cheaper. So I will definitely take you along for a future video on making your own homemade seasonings. I have already made lots of them. I just, for whatever reason, have stopped relying on using homemade ones in certain aspects like tacos. So I will be doing that for us. Things we have cut out in the past are canned soups. So now I don't really do that. We don't buy broth from the store anymore. We make all of our own homemade bone broth and things like that. You know, there's just lots of things like that we have attempted to either cut out entirely from our diet or make it ourselves from home. A lot of time the homemade version is a lot cheaper. And honestly, we don't homestead to be cheaper. In a lot of ways, homesteading is not cheaper. Especially if you're buying in most of your food for your animals and your garden, you know, like your fertilizers and things for your garden. But it's flavor, it's taste. Seriously, if you don't cook from scratch or you don't have a garden, I highly encourage you to learn or to start learning how to do that, because the flavor is amazing. And if you're a homesteader, I'm sure you know already, but the flavor of your food, if you are working that hard for it, is totally worth it. It is amazing. My husband, he loves to smoke a lot of meats, and I love to do a lot of cooking and canning and all of that kind of thing. Now, canning is certainly not my most favorite preservation method. However, it's nice to have it on the shelf. But that's sort of our motivation for homesteading, is the wholesome life, but also, dang, you know, there's not very many restaurants we can go to and be impressed anymore because our food just is fresh. It tastes great. So that's kind of my 5 steps to planning your pantry. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments for me. I would love to help answer that. We will definitely take apart these little ways, these steps, and break them down later. But for now, I thought that would be a great way for you to start getting an idea of what you need to put into your pantry to start filling it and to start thinking ahead a little bit. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you had a good time, and we'll see you in another video real soon.